I would like to take a moment to introduce our president, Art Weiss. Arthur J. Weiss has been practicing law for 47 years. During that time, he has won numerous top awards and handled countless cases. Mr. Weiss is president of the Criminal Defense Attorneys of Michigan, having served as first vice president, second vice president, and as an at-large member. He is also affiliated with the American Board of Criminal Lawyers and is a commissioner of the Michigan Commission on Law Enforcement Standards. Art Weiss.
Do the slides change on their own?
I don't think so. We have just the arrow keys there.
This one here? Okay. Good morning, CDAM. These conferences do not occur on their own and in a vacuum. There's committees and there's staff, and I'd like to take a few seconds just to introduce them and to thank them. We have a conference committee: Mike Hills, Beth Lacoste, Rachel Lowell, Lisa Kirschatawa, and Tom Siver. We have conference staff: Ramona Sain, Kathy Gentry, Morgan McCowan, Sandy Sussman, Jan Steinborn, Heather Wera, and Diane Ward. So let's thank them. And sometimes they're referred to as Ramona's minions. A couple of weeks ago, we participated with the ABA in a strategic planning event, what we are going to do in the course of CDAM over the next couple of years. Some things that we thought about and we're going to see about implementing are more Saturday trainings, community engagement, continued legislative influence. We have a lobbyist in Lansing. We are there. Peggy Rabin, John Shea, Jessica Zimmerman are co-chairs of our Rules and Laws Committee. We have a law day this year. I think it will be in March, where we go and we meet with the legislators. So I'd like to think that we're on the cutting edge of trying to change the law when we can, and whatever influence we can be brought to bear. We also regularly, when the Michigan Supreme Court grants leave, generally on the order, if it's a criminal matter, CDAM will be invited to be an amicus. We have an amicus committee. They work closely with SADO and the lawyers who filed the application, and we file amicus when we think it's appropriate and when we think we can help. We're always in need of volunteers. If you think you can devote one amicus brief a year, please contact the either John Minnick or Stuart Friedman or myself to see about getting involved. We have a number of committees. We have a Rules and Law Committee that I just indicated, amicus committee. There we go. And we have a strike force. Now, the strike force was formed about a year and a half ago. And what it is designed to do is, if an attorney finds him or herself on the wrong side of a judge, and it looks like that attorney may be held in contempt, it may even be that an order to show cause has been issued, contact us and we will provide representation. And in the short span that the committee has been in existence, we have a perfect record. But we are in need of people to help us. We have individuals literally in 6 counties, which is great, given the fact that it's been in existence for a little over a year. The problem is we have 83 counties in the state. So we have 77 counties where we'd like representation. Please give us a call. Ken Mogul, who is a lecturer for us, who is a well-known ethics attorney, in fact, back in the day was president of CDAM, has graciously agreed to provide training. So we won't put you out there willy-nilly, but we do need people, and our members need it. Now, I'm going to go off script for a minute, and hopefully I won't do disservice to the speakers behind me or come after me. But as a profession, we are under attack. And to the ones that have been here before and are seasoned veterans, you know what I'm talking about. But there have been two matters in the recent past that has really pissed me off, and I want to talk to you about it for a minute or two. The first one involves the Parkland school shooting case. The jury came back, and they didn't recommend the death penalty, so life without parole was a foregone conclusion under Florida law. But they still nonetheless had a hearing, and the attorneys had to do their jobs. I understand that. And the victims had their right to have a day in court. I understand that, no problem at all. But the defense attorneys still had a job to do. And when they would interpose an objection, the judge got upset with them, to the point where she started chastising them. And there were defenders. And when the head of the defender's office comes down to support his staff, the judge chastises him, sends him in the back of the courtroom, like this was kindergarten, and he had misbehaved in the sandbox, and so he has to go to the corner. That in and of itself upset me enough. What really pushed me over the edge is a short time later, when the hearing was over with, the judge, still on her robes, walks down to the well of the courtroom and personally hugs each and every member of the prosecutorial staff. WTF.
What the fuck?
Thank you.
Just like Judge Rosemary.
Another example, a little bit closer to home, a friend of mine, who I've known for over 30 years, was the assistant United States attorney way back in the day. And then he got elected a county prosecutor in a suburban county from Detroit, and was a county prosecutor until the feds indicted him. My feeling is that the indictment was bullshit. The jury agreed with my personal assessment because they found him not guilty. He went into private practice. We did some cases together. And admittedly, he represented some unsavory individuals. One was charged with being a pedophile, another with child pornography. The citizens of his county didn't hold that against him because he ran and was elected for judge. And when he saw that he was aging out, he decided to run for Congress in this past election earlier in the week. His opponent seized upon his period of time as a defense attorney. And I'm going to paraphrase now, but I'm going to put a little personal spin on it. But this is the way I took a couple of the commercials by the opponent. This candidate will do to his constituents, if he goes to Congress, what his clients did to his victims. My friend lost with about 1,600 votes. But the point of the matter is, if you think about it, there is only one profession in the United States Constitution that has nothing to do with the political process and is embedded in the Constitution, and that is the Sixth Amendment right to counsel. We are in the Constitution, and we're there for a reason. And yet we get condemned, we get attacked for doing our jobs. And I find that offensive. I don't know if any of you remember F. Lee Bailey, who was a brilliant attorney. Unfortunately, he had some ethical lapses and he got disbarred. But he wrote a book and he entitled it, "The Defense Never Rests." And that phrase has always resonated with me, because in order to do our jobs, we can never rest. Whether we get attacked by other lawyers, prosecutors, judges, the media, we still have a job to do. And we try to do it to the best we can. CDAM is here to help you do your job. I am told that there's over 300 people that have signed up to be here this weekend. And I think about 2/3 of you are not members, and we don't have a problem with that. But I'm going to beg indulgence. I know Beth did it a few moments ago, but it's slightly different. The members of CDAM, please stand up.
And if you don't know, look at your tag, and if you have embedded crest, you are.
All right. To the 2/3 that aren't members, these people are here to talk to you if you want to approach them. They will tell you about CDAM. They will tell you the benefits of joining. I recognize that it's the end of the year. Some of you may need, you can sit down, thank you. It's the end of the year, and some of you may need CLE credit. Some of you come from the camaraderie, some for the education. But we have a lot to offer, and we ask you to please consider joining us. And at the risk of getting 300 some odd phone calls, if you want to talk to me, I'm available. I'm going to give you my cell, 248-330-3800. Call me if you want to know about CDAM, and I'd be happy to tell you. 248-330-3800. I'm an old movie buff, and back in 1978, Animal House came out. And John Belushi played a character by the name of Pluto Batarsky. And towards the end of the movie, he is standing on the top edge of a building ready to jump off. And what he screams as he's coming down is take no prisoners. I ask you to join me, to join us, to take no prisoners and take the fight to them. Thank you, and enjoy the weekend.
Thank you, Art. Now we're all ready to go. I'd like to introduce Christine Staley. Christine is the Executive Director of the Michigan Indigent Defense Commission, where she leads a dedicated staff responsible for aiding the commission in development and implementation of minimum standards for public defense statewide. Kristen, am I saying that? Kristen? Sorry. Kristen has also served as with the MIDC as the South Central Michigan Regional Manager, where she oversaw the compliance of MIDC standards and development of best practices in public defense among 12 counties. Prior to joining the MIDC, she was the Deputy Director of the Michigan Council on Crime and Delinquency, a nonprofit organization dedicated to advancing effective policies and practices within the adult youth system. Thank you.
Sorry, it's a longer walk up than I thought. Hey, morning, everybody. Art, thank you so much for starting this off. And that's kind of, I think this is the right framework of how I think about defense work. And I kind of wanted to throw out there because our office, right, we're only in existence because of that fight and that constitutional mandate that we have in this country, in this state, that we have to exist, and we have to exist as quality defenders, as people who are here to stand up for the rights of folks who are facing some really awful, traumatic, terrible situations in their lives, and we're the ones out there who are just putting their necks on the lines, right? So I'm just curious, you don't have to stand up. Raise your hands. Who here are indigent defenders or take assigned cases? Woo! All right, give you guys a round of applause, seriously. So how many here never used to come to CDAM conferences before the MIDC? Okay, all right. Oh, double hands over there. So, I mean, no, seriously, it's been such a wonderful partnership that we've been able to have with the CDAM community, with the indigent defender community. We've been able to see you all grow and, come to these wonderful events, whether, like, as you said, it's for camaraderie, for networking, for some education. I think I heard that, which is something interesting. Marla's kind of rolling over somewhere for that, but no, I just want to say thank you all for being here. This is really it's always a lot of fun. And so I'm really thrilled to be up here to actually be the MIDC's third director since our existence. Like I heard in my, my bio that was read, I was a regional manager for a handful of years. I did some policy work for the MIDC, done policy work for the state of Michigan in general, all focused on criminal defense work or criminal legal system change reform, juvenile legal system change reform. But the MIDC, it's exciting. It's an exciting time to be, well, there's a little bit of an election this year that just happened this week. So it's certainly an exciting time to work in the state of Michigan. So there's a lot of changes ahead of us. But up to this point, we've had quite a bit of reforms and quite a bit of successes. So we started in 2013. We, as many of you know, we provide grants out to all the counties to say, hey, look, we're going to give you a lot of funding because it's a mandate, and we have to do this so that you can come in, you can support the defenders, you can support the defense communities, build defense teams, and support your citizens. So we have we call standards 1 through 10, right? Our first 4 standards, many of you are very familiar with, but I'll just run through it real fast. One of them is training. That's why you're here. Many, many of you are here. One of them is meeting, having adequate space to meet confidentially and, in adequately time with your clients. One is, providing a lot of adequate funding and reasonable funding for experts and investigator services, which including our friends who are out in the hallways, things like that. There's a huge increase, by the way, we've seen of those fundings being requested. In fact, I think since our first grant year, it's been an increase about like 53% or something. It's huge, and it's going to keep rising. We now have counsel at first appearance and appearance throughout all critical stages. That's been a massive change. Who here, by the way, who here does arraignment cases? Who here? All right, so right? It's huge. It makes a big difference in the client's lives because you get right up there right away. You get to talk to them as fast as you possibly can to hopefully you can resolve something quickly. This past year, we've had what we call Standard 5 implemented, which is, by the way, I think the best standard because now your judges aren't picking who you are, just off a list because they choose who, because it's their, because you look better, or you're better friends with that judge. It's impartial, the way that it should be. No one's picking a prosecutor, no one should be picking the defense attorney. It makes total sense to me. They're not paying your bills, they're not overseeing who you're picking in as an expert and investigator. It's set up the way that the system should always have been. This year, we're seeing what we call the indigency standard, so that we're standardizing the way that clients can have access to our indigent defenders. It's not just county by county kind of justice, it's all across the state. And frankly, I think it increases the way that people can access defense attorneys all the way through. It's comparable to the type of case that you're facing, not just how much money you have in your bank account. On October 28th, I'm getting the date right, I think, Standard 8 was approved. So Standard 8, if those who aren't familiar with it, is a standard on attorney compensation. So all of you that just raised your hand and said that you're indigent defenders, you will have hopefully a boost in compensation, and I'm really, really proud to say that. We have a standard that's memorialized in state law now that is saying that you have to be reasonably compensated, and there are minimum amounts of money. I'm not going to spout out what the whole standard says, but our website has everything that you need, which is michiganidc.gov. And I'm here to talk about it if you'd like. For the rest of the conference, my fellow coworker and regional manager, Melissa Wangler, is also here. We have a little table outside. We can talk your ear off about it all day long if you want. But the point of here is that we're moving and we're progressing, and the state is investing in you as defenders. We've had $146 million dedicated by the state for public defense and indigent defense. We're seeing growth in areas, for example, there's a pending bill that can change our act to actually increase it into the juvenile courts. It's pending, we'll see where it goes, it's not out there, but the point is that we're moving and we're moving forward, and we're doing it with your help, and we're really thrilled to have this partnership, and I'm just so happy to be here with you guys. So I'll leave it with that. I'm well over time, so thanks, guys.
Thank you, Kristen. Kathy Schwedlow is the manager of the Criminal Defense Resource Center, the CDRC, at the Michigan State Appellate Defender's Office. Now, prior to joining the CDRC, Kathy was the deputy administrator of the Michigan Appellate Assigned Counsel System, MAACS, also part of SADO. Kathy was formerly a professor and assistant dean at Western Michigan University Cooley Law School, teaching criminal law, criminal procedure, and death penalty law. She served as the co-director of the School's Innocent Project and was the co-counsel on the project's first DNA exoneration case. She has a ton of experience as an assistant federal defender with the habeas unit of the Defenders Association of Philadelphia, and has worked in the state attorney's office in the U.S. Courts of Appeals of the 2nd, 3rd, and 6th Circuit. She's also an author. She wrote the Defender's Appellate Manual, 3 law school textbooks, and is a former contributing editor of the death penalty cases for the ABA publication Preview of the United States Supreme Court. Kathy, thank you.
Good morning. After hearing all that, I feel a little ready to retire, to tell you the truth. Okay. Good morning, everybody. You can see the SADO website here behind me. I'm here just for a few minutes. I want to talk to you about the CDRC, the Criminal Defense Resource Center, and talk to you about our mission and the way we fulfill that mission in terms of our interactions with you. One of the prime things we do at the CDRC is we provide tools and support to defenders. And we do that to appellate defenders, but also to trial defenders as well, okay? And most of our resources, most of the ways that you interact with that support is through our website, through www.sado.org. Now, many of our resources are available to the public, so you could refer your clients off to this website, but a lot of our resources are locked down and are subscriber only. I know from seeing some faces here that many of you know about our website and know about our subscriber services, but if you're relatively new to the SADO website, or if you don't know if you're a subscriber, chances are, if the MIDC brought you here, if the MIDC paid you your way, chances are you are a subscriber and you do have access to these resources, okay? And I am here this weekend, or today really, and I can tell you about how to get your login credentials. Okay, so what are these subscriber services, or these great things that we can provide to you? We have, and I'm just going to scratch the surface here. I made a list of things that we have on this website. We have a police misconduct website or database. We keep it updated with all kinds of details about police misconduct. We have an expert database. We have a brief bank of SADO briefs that have been filed by SADO attorneys. I counted up last night over 2,700 briefs. So if you're looking for a legal issue, chances are somebody on our staff has written a brief on that issue, and it's available on our website. We have trainings. We have videos of all our past trainings, but also we offer a lot of trainings, and they're all available through our website, through those subscriber services. We also have a series of publications. Many of you are probably familiar with the Defender books, you know, those big blue binders, right? But we've branched out in recent years, and we have, in addition to the trial book, the habeas book, the motions book, the sentencing book. We also have books about Defender Guide to the MDOC policies. Beth mentioned an appeals book. We have, oh my gosh, all kinds of sentencing books, juvenile lifer books, all kinds of different manuals, search and seizure, evidence. The list kind of goes on and on and on, okay? So we have a lot to offer you, and we want to offer these services to you. If you don't know about our website, I will be doing the working lunch this afternoon, going through the website. If you would like somebody from our office to come out to your Defender office and do a lunchtime presentation, we're happy to walk you through the website. If you just kind of want to take a quick look and you want to know if you have credentials, come to the table. We're outside. We don't have a fancy car like the Interlock people, but we will have candy. And candy doesn't sound good now, but in about 2 hours, it's going to sound really good. Okay, so come out, we'll give you your credentials, and we'll get you logged in. But you can see a sample of some of the things that we provide. Oh, one thing that we provide that I didn't tell you about that I don't want to leave out, we also publish a monthly newsletter, the Criminal Defense Newsletter, and it's in paper, but it's also sent through email, and it has case summaries, and it has a lot of updates and a lot of information in it. So that's another advantage to being a subscriber to our services. One last thing, because I know time is short. I am here, as I said, but I'm also here with Mari David, who many of you know from SADO, and Heather Wara, who's working at CDAM, but also is part of the CDRC. So any of the three of us can help you out today, but Mari and I will be at the table. Okay? Thanks.
Thank you, Kathy. I'm going to introduce next Stephanie Farkas. One thing, you guys, there are plenty of seats. So if anybody is in the back and wants to sit down, I know we're going to break shortly, but we do have plenty of seats. Got it? Stephanie Farkas is the Litigation Support Counsel for the Michigan Appellate Assigned Counsel System, MAACS, where she helps train, support, and supervise new and established MAACS roster attorneys. Stephanie is a former chair of the State Bar Criminal Law Section and remains on the council. She also serves on the Model Criminal Jury Instructions Committee. Previously, she worked as a senior trial attorney at Neighborhood Defender Service, NDS, in Detroit, and as assistant public defender in Berrien County, and as a private practitioner. Stephanie.
Morning, everyone. As Elizabeth mentioned, I am the Litigation Support Counsel at MAACS, and for those of you who have not heard of MAACS or haven't been to a CDAM conference before, MAACS is the administrative system that administers appellate requests for appeal and appoints counsel for indigent clients coming through on appeal. And so when your clients request appointment of counsel after sentencing, the request for counsel comes through our office from the court. We process that and appoint an attorney through our roster or through SADO, and then the appeal proceeds. So SADO takes 25% of the state's appeals under the statute, the Appellate Defender Act, and MAACS is responsible for handling the other 75% of those appeals. We would like as many of you as possible to join our roster of attorneys. We actually just had our roster open up in the fall. We went through applications and admitted a new class of attorneys. However, we do at times accept people throughout the year, so if anybody is interested in joining the roster, I have hard copies of applications with me. If anybody has questions about MAACS, about the roster, how to go about applying, find me. I'm happy to talk to you about it. But basically, we have an application. We ask that people submit a statement of interest, their resume, a couple writing samples, and then if anybody has malpractice insurance, we would like to know about that. And you can also apply online. I have the link in the materials for everybody, as you can see. But what we're really, really trying to highlight and improve for everybody that's part of our roster at this point is fees. So over the past 7 years or so, since Brad Hall, our administrator, became our administrator, he had worked very, very hard going throughout the state, getting a lot of the counties, because again, we're all familiar, it's a county by county, local delivery system. And he convinced a lot of the counties to enter into a regional list to increase the fees for the appellate system, and made a lot of progress. And then the MIDC came along, which is great, and we're very happy. But now our fees aren't very competitive compared to MIDC trial level rates. And our current rates are $50 an hour for plea appeals, $75 an hour for trial appeals, and we have, $25 an hour for travel. So those rates, obviously, as many of you are MIDC attorneys, much less than what people are getting now under Standard 8, as Kristen mentioned. But what we are trying to do now is go through legislation and funding strategies to actually bring up our rates to the MIDC rates and make them comparable. So we are on more of a level playing field, and everybody is getting reasonably compensated for the work that we all do and we all deserve. And a couple of these are through a couple House bills that have been introduced by Representative Leitner. With lame duck going on now, we aren't sure if it's going to get a lot of traction between now and the new year with the legislature, but who knows, they might end up actually doing something. If not, hopefully we'll get it reintroduced again next year. But it's kind of part of the recommendations from Lieutenant Governor Gilchrist's task force. We're trying to piggyback on that in terms of the juvenile justice recommendations, as Kristen referenced also too, and bringing in the youth defense system under the Michigan Indigent Defense Act, and increasing the level of representation for youth going through the criminal justice system. So there's going to be a lot of changes with that, hopefully. But again, we want to make the rates competitive, and we want to make sure everybody is fairly compensated for the work that they do. So in terms of the revisions that we do, you can see here we're just added into the bill proposed by Rep. Leitner some suggested language that would make the rates consistent with the MIDC, so hopefully that'll get done. And that's really one of the main big updates that I have for everybody. But again, if anybody has any questions and want to talk about joining the roster, interested in doing appeals, but you don't really know where to start, talk to me, contact MAACS. We're happy to help you. Thank you.
Thank you.